So Ronald Acuña Jr. is out for the year. This is why we can't have nice things.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and we are now roughly 1/3 of the way through my 6th full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And this year I'm hosting every episode of Locked On MLB, and I am also, oddly, the host of Locked On A's as well. I'm doing double duty here, double duty Radcliffe here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And you can follow me. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Quick note that today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And if you're posting anything on the social network, on YouTube, on Twitter, or whatever it is, or Instagram, wherever you're going, put down that hashtag #EverydaySully so we have an idea of who's listening to us. Believe it or not, that kind of sort of helps. I think that's about it. This week we are going to be doing the power rankings. I'm also going to be doing something brand spanking new for this year. I've been doing it the last few seasons. It's called the Summer Score. And the Summer Score is where I keep track of which teams have been in a playoff spot after Memorial Day. I think before Memorial Day, you can't look at this. You can't look at the standings. You cannot look at the standings. It's silly to look at the standings. After Memorial Day, you can, because you've had 1/3 of the season in the rearview mirror. You have a sense of who you are. And that 1/3 really allows teams to have the ebbs and the flows of a 162-game season, have a pretty decent sample size of it. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later on the show, that two teams that if you had asked me just 2 weeks ago, what do I think about them? I would have said fire their manager and start again. Showed me something, well, impressive over the last few days. And we're doing a live stream, and so we have this is in our live stream. We're going to be answering questions if anyone has anything up there. Hey, Adam Scott Bristol's already here. Says rooted in Oakland swag now prohibited at the Coliseum. Why do you think I use that one and not this one, which is just generic A's? Could be any city. Could be Sacramento. Could be Salt Lake City. Could be Kansas City. Hell, they could be going back to Philly. But no, in my mind, they are rooted in the Oakland. Hey, let's answer a trivia question while we're here. The other day, I talked about a trade that the Seattle Mariners made when they acquired third baseman Dave Hollins back in the mid-1990s. What player did they give up to get him? Well, they sent a minor leaguer by the name of David Arias, and Mark Fahey knew that. David Arias was traded, so that's a pretty decent trade. An unknown minor leaguer named David Arias was traded from the Seattle Mariners organization to the Twins for Dave Hollins. There you go. That's the answer to that question. Oh, by the way, David Arias eventually changed his name to David Ortiz and is in the Hall of Fame. So you could have had A-Rod, Griffey, Ichiro, Ortiz. There was a possibility they all could have been teammates. Edgar Martinez. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. His career skyrocketed when he got to the Red Sox. When things started looking badly, suddenly he became a Hall of Famer. You're not going to find a bigger get rid of that. You're not going to find a bigger David Ortiz fan than me. And man, oh man, that was a short-sighted trade. By the way, the Red Sox fleeced around the same time, the Mariners, when they traded Heathcliff Slocum for Derek Lowe and Jason Varitek. So in review, Varitek, Lowe, and David Ortiz were all Seattle Mariners farmhands who helped the Red Sox win a World Series, at least one. Varitek was there for 2, Ortiz was there for 3, and there you go. We'll take a quick peek at who owned baseball, because that's going to lead on to a couple of things I'm going to talk about today. Matt Vierling got 2 home runs, including a walk-off in a wild, weird game where the Tigers, whose bats are bad, scored 14 runs, including the walk-off Vierling home run against Toronto. Toronto is just an absolute disaster right now. You score 11 runs against a team that can't hit, and you lose the game. I mean, this is the way it's been now, and they're spiraling, and they're going to have to make trades. And I talked about that ad nauseum. As I am hinting at a little bit later in the show, we'll talk about 2 teams that are maybe riding the ship. Paul Goldschmidt may be on one of those teams. He hit 2 home runs, and the Cardinals beat the Cubs 4-3 on ESPN. Kyle Bradish threw 7 innings of no-hit ball. We'll talk a little bit of my feelings on that. And Chris Sale, don't complain, Red Sox fans. We all thought he was washed up. He struck out 8 Pirates in 7 innings to get another win in Atlanta, which that game we're going to talk about. Pretty lengthy here. Some half-wobs went to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., went 4 for 5 in the Blue Jays loss. Ian Happ hit 2 home runs in the Cubs loss. Michael Wacha was perfect into the 7th, but wound up taking a hard luck 4-1 loss. And Logan Webb, we talked the other day about how the Giants were the comeback kids. Well, karma came back, and they had a 9th inning collapse. So I guess things, even now, it spoiled a solid Logan Webb start. Chris Sale is putting together a remarkable season, a remarkable comeback season, and he's actually could put himself right in the middle of the Cy Young conversation. But that's not what the conversation that we're all having regarding the Braves win the other day, because just awful news. Awful news. Ronald Acuña Jr. in the game had a complete tear of his ACL, and he is going to miss the remainder of the 2024 season. I mean, he was so tremendous last year. And, with the 40-70 season he had, and he did everything. And beyond that, he's fun. Remember fun? He was fun, and he plays with a flair, and he plays with a sense of the dramatic, hits the big home run, steals the bases. I'm a huge fan of stolen bases in baseball. I'm glad they're coming back. I think the movie, the plotting around the bases, saying, hey, don't steal bases because there's a risk. Yeah, that's what I hate seeing in sports, people taking risks and things being exciting and having a sense of when a runner's on base. Is he going to go? Is he going to go? Could he steal 100 bases and all this stuff and suddenly, blink, gone? And someone who is put down the remote, I want to see his at-bat type of player is gone for the rest of the year, and we are not going to have him in the postseason. The Braves are inevitably going to go to the postseason. Whether or not they win the division, I didn't pick them to win the division. I picked Philadelphia to win the division, and I stand by that pick. But I think Atlanta is still a wonderful team, and obviously if you put in a Chris Sale, they're going to do well. But all of baseball is losing it. I mean, we're having Jeff Cohen, who is an everyday Sully listener, says, sorry to see Acuña go down 2 ACL injuries in 3 years. It really sucks. And this is coming from a Mets fan who hates to see opposing teams injured. Yeah, Jeff Cohen, he's the biggest Met fan you'll ever meet in your life. And he's sad that the Braves had a devastating injury, because you don't want to see players get hurt. You want to beat the team when they're at full strength. You don't want to be, your team won the division. Yeah, but the other team lost all their players. Now, the last time Ronald Acuña Jr. had a devastating injury like that, it was 2021. And the Braves recovered. In fact, they won the World Series that year. And Acuña got a World Series ring for his troubles. He didn't play in the series, but he was there cheering him on. And he was a big part of the team until he had that massive injury. Now, the Braves are probably going to do something. What will probably happen is they'll trade for Tommy Pham. I mean, CBS Sports had that same thought. I had that thought immediately because the White Sox are terrible. And I think the Braves should make a move right away. Tommy Pham is doing well for a White Sox team that is terrible. And take a page out of what the Padres did when they acquired Luis Ariz, which is get that player earlier rather than later. Tommy Pham is not going to be as good as Ronald Acuña Jr. Few people in baseball are going to be as good as Ronald Acuña Jr. But the lesson that the Braves learned in 2021 was not that you were going to replace the stars when they had they lost their entire outfield. Ozuna, Acuña, I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. You have to forgive me, but they wound up acquiring Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, and Jock Peterson for the stretch run. They made sure that there was a major leaguer at every outfield spot. Now, you'll note that Peterson was a big hero when they won the division series against Milwaukee. Rosario was the NLCS MVP against Los Angeles, and Jorge Soler was the World Series MVP against Houston. So they wound up hitting the jackpot. But the lesson they learned was if you're not going to replace the superstar, just make sure it's not a hole. You put Tommy Pham in there right now. Again, nobody is saying he will be as good as Ronald Acuña Jr., but you now know that Acuña's spot in the lineup has a major leaguer there. They could wind up bringing up players from the farm. They wind up doing a couple of things, but put a major leaguer there right away. Call up the White Sox before I finish this sentence and say, we want Pham, what do you want? And if it's anything short of a top prospect, put him in. Because the last time the Braves did this, as devastating as it was, do you know what? In the end, it kind of worked out. Make the call. Hey, let's talk a little bit to our friends over at Game Time. I'm telling you something. I'm going to be going to a bunch of games this year. I'm going to a bunch of games. I'm going to be here. I'm right now in LA County, so I'm going to go see the Dodgers, who are a tough ticket to get. The Angels, a little easier. I'm going to be up in the Bay Area for a big chunk of the summer, and I'm going to see a bunch of Giants games, and I'm going to see the A's. I'm also going to be going to upstate New York. I'm going to be seeing some games, sporting events up there. Now, what am I going to do to get my tickets for all the live events and to check out some of the other great things, including theater and comedy? You got to use Game Time. Game Time is an authorized marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Game Time app, they actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. So if you're feeling spontaneous, hey, am I going to go to the A's game or not? You can get yourself a deal. You got last minute deals, all in prices, view from the seats, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes all the guessing work out of buying Major League tickets. Now, let me tell you, the best part, I think, is you get the seat views. And actually, there's two things that are amazing. Seat views, because I want to know where I'm going to. I want to make sure it's not obstructed, make sure the seat's facing the right way. I know what I like at a baseball stadium. I like being not in the upper deck, not field level. I like being in the deck right in the middle. That right there. You're above it, but you're not in the nosebleeds. And I like to be behind home plate, but a little bit up the first base line. That's my favorite view of the game. And I could sit there, and if I want to see, hey, is it right at the front? Is there going to be anything obstructed? I want to be able to see the view from the seat. Game Time does that. They also have zone deals. I say, hey, this is the general area I like to sit in. And it finds the best deal in that area. It takes the guesswork out of it. And it's all in prices, no hidden fees or anything like that. You got to check out Game Time because the Game Time ticket coverage, your ticket is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. What you got to do is you got to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB. Did I spell that correctly? Sure, you can figure it out. You get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. It's the lowest prices. I guarantee it. Hey, where are you getting your sports news these days? Where's your hub? Where's your go-to place? Where's the first step? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring the biggest stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. One of the players that I brought up in terms of who won baseball was Kyle Bradish, and he threw a no-hitter over 7 innings. And then they lifted him, and the bullpen immediately coughed up the no-hitter. I'm going to baseballreference.com, the single greatest website in the history of the planet Earth. And they were playing the White Sox, who are, let's face it, other than Tommy Pham, not a lot of reasons to cheer them on. And Bradish struck out 11. He threw 103 pitches, but he was throwing a no-hitter. And I understand you have Paul Skeens throwing a no-hitter. This is the most innings he's ever going to pitch in his career. I get it. Why wouldn't you let Kyle Bradish at least go out into the 8th? I mean, this is a guy, he is 27 years old. He's pitched triple-digit innings in the last 2 years. This is not someone whose arm is like a Fabergé egg right now. He pitched 168 and 2/3 innings last year. And in the grand scheme of things, I understand it doesn't matter. I understand that when, push comes to shove, the most important thing is for the Baltimore Orioles to pile up a lot of wins, especially as we start to pile up the summer score to see how long they can stay in the postseason spot. And they are currently, as wonderful as the Yankees' start has been, the Yankees and Orioles are tied in the loss column. The Yankees have played more games, so they have 4 more wins than Baltimore, but they're tied in the loss column. And so I get all of that. But you know what? There's also that galvanizing moment of a big no-hitter being that great moment for the team. It could be a rallying point, or it could just be fun. It could be just fun to see a pitcher come out and throw a freaking no-hitter. And I mean, yes, I know he threw. He'd already thrown 100 pitches, and I'm not saying have him go out there and throw 140 pitches or whatnot, but at least have him go out there. Would it kill you to have him go out there? Is that the worst thing that happen? Right from then Danny Colomb came out, and I said that Colomb it's a in-joke between me and a couple of people I know who are fans of the film Christopher Columbus, The Discovery. See the movie or don't. It's terrible. He let up a home run. That was the only hit they got. Cano wound up getting out of the inning, and Kimbrel wound up striking out. And so there was the one hit. They let up the one home run. And if it was a combined no-hitter, that would have been fine. But, just give the guy a chance to have the moment of his life. At least let him let up the home run at that point. I mean, they had already had Crochet, who had pitched a really good game for Chicago. They had already got to him. And I don't see this as being a real threatening lineup they have with the White Sox. I don't know. Give him a shot. Give him a chance. But, hey, a couple days ago, I did a thing on the Toronto Blue Jays. I've been screaming for the last couple of years that they need to make a change in their manager situation. Schneider is not the good long-term solution. I think we've seen that. And we're seeing it now that they are a team that is probably going to be sellers. They're probably going to be taking calls from the Atlanta Braves. Who knows? It might be Vladdy Guerrero Jr. joining the Braves. And that would be great for Atlanta, but terrible for baseball, as the team of Canada is going to have to dismantle. Now, I've already talked long and hard about that. I'm not going to bring them up. But if you would ask, I was prepping that episode a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to also include the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals in that situation. Now, I got to say, you got to give the Cardinals a little bit of credit. Now, Goldschmidt, who's not having a great year, but he hit 2 home runs yesterday, as I noted, in the ESPN game against the Cubbies. And the Cardinals have started to right their ship. It makes no sense in a wide open National League Central, one where the Brewers lost their manager and their ace, that they should run away with it. And through April, the Cardinals are having yet another losing season, and look like, oh my God, are they going to have to deal away? And then the Cardinals went on how long is this losing streak? They went on a 7-game losing streak between the beginning and middle of May, of which I thought, fire the team. They fell 9 games under 500, and they were just an absolute cataclysmic disaster. And I said, and I was gonna put them right in there with the Blue Jays as blow the team up, fire everybody. Well, guess what? Since then, the Cardinals have won 10 out of their last 12 games. Since then, the Cardinals have climbed back. They're almost at 500 right now. And in this division, where you're asking the Brewers to continue to overachieve, and to be winning these head-to-head games with the Chicago Cubs, suddenly the Cardinals, who look like they're about to completely fall out of contention, are just 4 games out of first place, or 4 games in the loss column, 4.5 in the standings, and barely out of the wild card at this point. So suddenly the Cardinals are a team that you look at and go like, wait a minute. And they're in a 5-game winning streak right now. Things are starting to look a little better. And they obviously have the talent. And if the likes of the Arenados and the Goldschmidts of the world can start playing better, then do you know what? Maybe you give them another shot. I'll tell you another team that's impressed me a little bit. Now, I was all ready to throw David Bell and the Cincinnati Reds into the dumpster, especially because they have a lot of young talent on that team. And to suddenly see them as being a non-contender in a winnable division, I said, pull the plug on this and start with someone new. They also had a big losing streak. They had an 8-game losing streak at the end of April and into the middle of May. And this was after they had an okay April. Now, their May, to be fair, has been pretty bad. But in the last week or so, the Reds have shown something. They have woken up a little bit. They've won 4 out of their last 6 games, including a clean sweep of Los Angeles. So as we're entering the 1/3 mark of the season, I'm not panicking just yet in St. Louis or in Cincinnati. Both teams have the talent, and both teams could take this, dusting themselves off of how bad things were looking in May. And remember, wait a minute, we're in the NL Central. Nobody wants to win this division. Why not us? Absolutely, why not us? So I say you see where they go as the teams go on playing. But when it comes to teams playing, I have a gigantic question to ask. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at supplyhouse.com. Now, order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple of clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the United States. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team and talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free TradeMaster program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the TradeMaster program to deliver results. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of the Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. It's Memorial Day. And this is a day that we remember those who gave their lives for our country. It's a solemn day, and it's a day of remembrance. By the way, I have very little patience for the people who go out of their way to say, don't thank living veterans on Memorial Day. Those are for those who have died. If you meet a veteran, you should thank him any day. You should thank, whether it's Memorial Day, Veterans Day, whatever day it is, and you meet someone who served our country, who's willing to put their life on the line for our country. No matter where you stand in the political spectrum. I mean, I've said before, I'm more on the left, but whether you're on the left or the right, you meet someone who was willing to do that, you salute them and say thank you. And if it happens to be on Memorial Day, fine. I'm not part of the thank you police. But it's also unofficially the beginning of summer. This is usually, historically, when the big first summer movies came out, like, Star Wars came out around now. Usually that'd be an Indiana Jones movie or something like that coming out around this time. And it's also a long weekend. And it's the first time where summer has begun. And as I said before, in terms of keeping track of the standings, after today, you can start looking at the standings. After today, you can start saying, okay, how are we doing? You got 2/3 of the season to stare at. And it's a day that most people have off. I'm a public school teacher when I'm not a podcaster, and I have the day off. A lot of people work at a bank, work in government, whatever you work on, usually you got Memorial Day off. So you got a Monday off in May. And I'm looking at the schedule. And I realized this as I was setting up my Locked On A's podcast I was going to do for today, because I said I want to make sure I get a show on before the A's game on Memorial Day. Well, ease up on the throttle, Sully. The A's aren't playing. That's right. We don't have a full schedule today. We don't. Now, I know a lot of teams played on Sunday, so this would be a travel day for a lot of people. But let me quote Shakespeare and say, what the hell? Why is it not a full slate today? Why on a day where most people have off, it's late May, it is a time to promote baseball, why isn't today a day where every team is playing? Hell, I would make the argument that every team should be having a double header today. But do you know what? I'll ease up on the throttle on that. And every team should be playing a game today. And do you know what? I'll meet you halfway on something. Because, a lot of teams want to have a travel day or whatnot. How about we do this? Listen to this. Let's schedule it so every team, whomever you were playing on Sunday, you had the Jays and the Tigers, the Reds and the Dodgers, Seattle and the Nationals, Giants, Mets, Brewers, Red Sox, Pirates, Braves, Royals, Rays, Rangers, Twins, Orioles, White Sox, A's, Astros, Angels, Cleveland, Rockies, Phillies, Diamondbacks versus Miami, Yankees and San Diego, Cubs and the Cardinals. All of them, they'll all be playing again. That's the same schedule. Wherever you're playing on Sunday, that's you're playing on Memorial Day. And have it be a day game. So every team gets a getaway day. And do you know what? If you want to be that every team has Tuesday off, fine. But you have a day that's a holiday. It's a national holiday in late spring. And you're thinking, I wonder when a good day for families to go to a ball game would be. Let me think. Every team has to play. And you play in the daytime. You play a day game. Families can come out, day game against whomever they were playing on Sunday. So there's no travel situation. And every team can get away at the end of the game. Okay? Boom. I've solved that problem. Everyone's a day game starting around 1 o'clock, whatever the local time is. So groups of families can come to the game. Hey, we all have that day off. Let's go to the ballpark that day. Let's go see the game. And boom, it's a day game. It's not too late for everyone. The pitch clock keeps the game moving along like that. And by 3:30, 4 o'clock, the game's over. You get in the plane, you go to the next city. And you land there at a reasonable time. Do I have to think of everything here? Do I have to think of I understand putting together a schedule is difficult. But there should be some things that always happen. You figured out how to make sure that the Red Sox are always playing a day game on Patriots Day. Okay? You should make sure that their teams are playing there's at least one team in New York, and the team in the Nationals are playing home on September 11th to honor that day. Everyone should, but every team in baseball should be playing a day game on Memorial Day, a day game on the 4th of July, and a day game on Labor Day. 3 days where everybody sees we're home, 1 o'clock start, 1 o'clock local time start, and the teams can get away the next day. You may have a reason why there's no game being played today, but you're wrong. This is stupid. I can't be the only one coming up with everything. And, and they're taking their time in electing me commissioner. And by the way, please support me solely for commissioner, baseball commissioner for a change. This doesn't seem like it's that hard of a thing to grasp. If we had a commissioner who actually liked baseball, maybe they'd be getting into that. Build this team up. Yes, I understand you have to go for the quickest cash grabs you can do at all times. But every once in a while, and I know this is an outlandish point of view to take, go think about what will actually grow the game. That's going to bring us to today's trivia question. On this day in 1968, the National League awarded 2 franchise expansions. One became the San Diego Padres, and the other became the Montreal Expos. Those were the 2 official National League expansions that were announced on this day in 1968. Here's a trivia question. On the day of the announcement, several New York papers erroneously announced another city got an expansion team. They got San Diego right, but they got Montreal wrong. Instead, it was reported that a different city got the expansion. What was the city that was erroneously reported in 1968 to get a Major League Baseball expansion? Put it right down here on the YouTube or at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter and Instagram. Remember, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about losing one of our best players and wondering why some teams are taking the day off. I'm taking the day off. You shouldn't. This is Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.